It's the Shig Show. It's the Shig Show. It's the Shig Show.
Oh, welcome everybody. Hey, listen, this is a little bit different than what I normally do. I am picking up an episode like it's in progress. I don't know how else to say it, but so me and Mr. Sehy, Coach Sehy, we had a conversation going, and while the iron was hot, man, I struck, and I think we hit some gold here on the good old Schick Show. So welcome everybody to the Schick Show. We're gonna pick right up where me and Coach Sehy started off our conversation. I don't even know that he knew I was recording. I mean, I just picked it right up. So, without further ado, here y'all go.
Well, I have a cousin who does this. This is what he does.
Really?
Yeah, he's got his own podcast.
Who is it?
Joe Sehy. He does Stacking Benjamins. It's a financial.
No kidding. Awesome.
He's won some awards. He's pretty big time now.
Where's he out of?
He's out of Texarkana, Texas, and he built it from the ground up. And you guys remind me of each other a little bit. You both like to hear yourselves talk. And, yeah. And so that works well in this line of business.
Well, that's who we are. That's who we are.
So, that's I pick on you and him a little bit about that because that's not necessarily something I'm afflicted with. So,
Okay.
Those of you who are, I admire.
I might start putting the anything anybody says nice about me, I'll start putting that in the intros. Yeah. So I don't know if you've listened to my podcast yet, but the intro has my wife, my daughters saying it's the Schick Show, and so they come up here one night, and well, the first time we did it, it was Jennifer. She came up, and I said, just say it's the Schick Show and be annoyed as possible because I know I'm annoying as can be to her, and so she's like, it's the Schick Show. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And we do it like maybe 10 times. I have like 10 different takes. And I go and I start editing. And I just started. So this is months ago. And I'm trying to edit that down and make it work within the music. The intro music is my former band, Cuffed. And like just trying to put all these things that are part of me in it. And I get this. We spent about an hour up here of her going, it's the Schick Show. And by the time it was over, she's like, it's the Schick Show. And I'm like, oh my God, that's, but every take was perfect because she was annoyed in every take. Well, by the time it's all over with, I come downstairs and I said, hey, we got to do that again. And she's like, no.
At that point, she's wanting to change the end of it to a T, and
I do have to remind people it's with an ick, not an it. And she certainly was one of those people that night. So then my girls come over one night, and I get Jocelyn up here, and Jocelyn's into it, and Addie comes up, she's into it, and we get Jennifer up here, and then it's their idea of how it all goes. So they're the not only the inspiration for it, but also
they get a little ownership in this.
They do. Deal. Yeah. 100%. So we were able to put it together, and that was pretty much one take. That's how it ended up. We didn't have to play around with it a whole lot. I annoy the crap out of them. And so when you hear him say that, it's pretty genuine. It's not like we set up here and made it up. They just came up here, hit it in one shot, and it was done.
That's awesome.
Well, that's what we do. So, hey, everybody, welcome to the Schick Show. I am here with a great friend, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I consider you a mentor to me.
Mentor.
I've learned a lot from you. I really have. And sometimes I say that in ways that, when you say something like, I've learned a lot from you, it can mean many different things. Mm-hmm. It can mean, I've learned a lot from you.
Not always a good thing.
That's right. Yeah. So, but in your case, it has. So, very blessed that Randy came into my life when I was first starting out my teaching career, and he shows up across the hall. And so I want to thank you for showing up and being a part of that. And,
well, that was some fun times. That group of people we had teaching together those 2 or 3 years was a lot of fun.
Good times, yeah. Good times. Well, he is the coach at Blackford High School. He's a varsity football coach and varsity track coach as well. Yeah. And you're teaching 10th grade English still?
Freshman English.
Freshman
Yeah,
English.
yeah.
Oh, that's good times right there.
Yeah, they're something. You know, it feels comfortable now because I've been doing it for a few years. But you know, they're just a little older middle school students. That's all freshmen are. Yeah.
Well, yeah, now they have to do it. It's not a, hey, I think I can get out of this.
Yeah.
You can't.
No getting at it.
Well, I can't ask for anybody better to be taking care of our freshmen out there. That's for sure. I have no doubt that their lives are being impacted in a positive way. So
Yeah, I hope so.
well, I've got quite a few questions I got to ask, and
Fire away.
we're going to just pick and prod and poke. And you're talking about your cousin has a podcast.
Yeah.
Now I've got to listen. We're going to give him a plug here. You know, all my thousands of listeners.
Yeah, well, I brought that up because he built his podcast, Stacking Benjamins, financial podcast. He built that from the ground up.
Yeah.
He was actually thinking about going into becoming an English teacher.
Oh, wow.
When he moved to Texas, and I guess that didn't sound good to him, so he decided to create this podcast. And man, he's done a really good job with it. He's in the financial area. He's pretty well known now amongst podcasters.
Wow. So Stacking Benjamins.
Stacking Benjamins.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to check that out, and I suggest everybody else check it out too, because if this guy's doing well in the podcast world and finance, in the financial world, there's a lot of competition out there for that. There's a lot of competition out there for idiots like me that are just having conversations with normal people. But, you know, I'm just having fun. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, I haven't listened to many of his podcasts because I'm not a financial guy, but he does a great job of trying to make it entertaining and fun. And, you know, it's based out of his mom's basement, and he has neighbor Doug as a character and all these things. So they have a lot of fun with, you know, something that's not always necessarily a very entertaining topic, in my opinion.
No,
anyways.
I like it. I like it already. Now I got to check it out. 'Cause here we are in the bonus room.
Yeah.
It's like a 4x6 closet, you know?
Yeah, it looks like, you know, one of those, before you probably fixed it up and painted it, one of those rooms that would have been prominent in some sort of horror film. You know, is the room they lock the kids up in,
It's
kind of
funny you
thing.
say that, because the girls also would not sleep up here. So
Okay.
we was just spend the night. You know, we got a bedroom upstairs, and no, they would not like. They were like, that room is creepy. They come up here now and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
you know?
fixed up,
I mean,
it's clean looking, it's good. Yeah.
we got some stuff going on. So hey, so like I said, Randy is the coach of the Blackford Bruins football team, and I've always got to ask, because, and I know you're originally from Michigan, but it's always interesting to me as a Hartford City and Blackford County native. It's like, how the heck do people find Blackford County for anything? You know, I mean, if you just happen by, you know, in the 80s, in the 70s and 80s, I knew why people came to Blackford County. We had the Triple X Drive-In Theater out on South State Road 3.
Sure.
So, and I found that out, you know, like as a younger guy going to football camps, that people, you know, oh, Blackford Drive-In, you know, I mean, that's what we were famous for. I was actually talking to Coach Ugan about it last week, and he grew up like 3/4 of a mile from it, and he was talking about he could hear what was happening.
Nice.
Yeah, that would be a real treat.
Most red-blooded American boys would sneak out to get a distant view of the screen. Also,
He would just have to peer out his window, I guess.
That'd be nice.
And I'm going to tell a secret, and I don't know if it's a secret to anybody else, but it's rare that I talk family on here and talk out of school. But my brother-in-law, Mark, he'd went parking one time. Now, I don't know if he told me he went parking. I guess I just imagined he went parking. I hope that's what he was doing when he got his car stuck on the road that was behind the drive-in. And his dad, my father-in-law, Kenny has passed away now, but Kenny had to come down with the tractor to get him out the next morning.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean,
Trying
how
to explain that one away?
you can't. You can't overcome that. It's like, so yeah. So we're famous for that. We, you know, I don't know what else. Oh, well, we won some state championships in the 70s and 80s,
80s,
and
yep.
a lot of pride there. We were a much different school than what we are now.
Yeah, when you're talking the difference between 1,200 versus 500 right now. So
we have 500.
yeah, about 500 I think in high school still,
Okay.
but not much. Last I saw was 525. Might be a little less than that now actually.
Okay, man,
Yeah, it's gone down.
that's a dramatic difference, and
Well, that's what happens in communities when you lose jobs.
Yeah.
You know, your student population drops dramatically, quickly.
someone I was talking to yesterday was talking about, farming families aren't having 6 kids anymore. You
no.
know, and I thought in that same conversation, you drive throughout anywhere in I would assume in the Midwest, but the old farmhouses that used to dot every square mile are not there anymore.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say. They're not having that many kids because the small farms have disappeared.
Yeah,
You know,
and that's what they needed.
it's
is
the mega
farm-
farms now.
Yeah.
So
and they don't need 6 kids to
No.
go out and milk and collect and
No.
and to run a
They just
farm
hire,
hall,
hire people.
an old farm hall with a 6-row planter. Now they got 30 plus row planters, and yeah, they're hiring people and farming. There was a family over at Oak Hill that I was talking to one of the boys, and I said, "How many acres does your family farm?" And I knew they were a big farming family. He's like, I don't know, Mr. Schick. I think only around 12,000 acres or something. I can't even have a conversation
Yeah.
at 1,000 acres. I can see that in my head. Like I can make that happen. 12,000 acres, man, that's that's
Yeah, I'm not sure how many acres actually exist in Blackford. I know we're one of the smaller counties
Right.
in the
Third.
state.
yeah.
But if anybody knows, I'd like to know
Yeah.
what's the actual acreage of Blackford County.
I wish I had like an intern.
Yeah.
And I've talked about,
Could
if
look
I
that
could
stuff
find,
up.
hey, Jimmy, look that up real quick. I mean, Rogan has one. I'm sure Jamie gets paid, but
Somebody's got to have somebody in your ear.
I'm gonna have to. I actually do have a talk back on here. That would be awesome to say, hey, Jimmy, tell me how many acres are in Blackford County, because I could do it, but you'll hear me typing away and everything else, and then we'll have dead air.
Well, you need a Siri or a Alexa or something like that. Yeah.
Every once in a while I do, hey, Google it.
Yeah.
I thought my phone was going to come on, but we can't escape it now. AI is here to
It
stay.
is.
Yeah,
Which is
speaking
something we can get into also.
Yeah, I'm going to write that down because I do want to ask you about Chat GPT
Yeah.
as we move in here.
I think your original question was, how the heck did I get here?
Man, I'm glad you're here to keep things in order because I'd already forgotten where.
That seems to be how conversations between you and I go, though. So, long story short, since we made it a lot longer already, is I was born and raised in the Kalamazoo, Michigan area. I went to Vicksburg High School, which is just southeast of there. Graduated from Western Michigan. But before that, I went to Adrian College, and that's where I met my wife.
Okay.
And so after we got married, we lived up there for a few years, but she wanted to move closer to her family, who's from Indiana. So so that's what got me down here. I got the job at Madison Grant, I think in 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2005. So I was there 5, 6, 7, and then moved. Got the job in Marion in 2008. So had heart surgery in 2012, which took me out of the coaching picture. Thought I wanted to be an administrator. And
I know somebody.
yeah, and I got a call from over here from a person we both know and love, work for.
We can't mention Melissa's name.
Not going to mention Melissa's name.
I don't.
But she called me up and said, "Job's open. You interested?" And I was like, "Okay." So here I am.
It's interesting. Just thinking about Melissa changed my educational career dramatically, and that was by just giving me freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Letting me she just allowed me to be me and find my teaching style, my voice. And so I credit her a lot too.
Oh, we were having our earlier conversation. You made mention about, part of having a great job is not feeling like you're always being, someone looking over your shoulder. And she was great at that, just kind of letting you do your thing and giving you guidance to go.
She did. So did you play high school sports?
I did. I was a 3-sporter. Football was my primary.
Yeah.
And I participated in basketball in the winter. Not a great basketball player. You know, I was one of those guys who was 6 foot as an eighth grader, and so as everybody caught me, I just found myself moving further and further down the bench. But and then I ran track in the spring. Gotcha. So yeah, I tried to stay busy. Part of the, you know, goes back to conversations we've had many times. I'd rather play sports than go home because I would have been put to work.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't a Xbox or a PlayStation to jump on kind of thing, and so sports was an easier way to entertain myself than going home and cutting wood.
Man, I've been that guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting you say that because I think maybe something similar, but on the opposite way, happened with me because I would play sports. I'd go home, and then it was still wood and, you know, mowing or whatever it was. And I think I became, I talked a little bit to Ugin about this as well, but I became just so busy that I didn't have time for
Every
me.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've also mentioned before that I wish I would have continued playing. I played football and baseball when I was younger. Quit baseball early on, and then focused on football. But I was that guy too, where at 10 years old, I was as big as the 12 and 13-year-olds, and then by the time I was an eighth grader, I remember getting hit during a drill. And it was just a blocking drill, maybe a hamburger drill or something. And one of the guys who I'd been
One of those drills we don't do anymore.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, full contact. Yeah. 6 days a week.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I had manhandled forever now hit me, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, I got to work. Now I got to work. That guy's not getting my spot." And I did. I mean, it made me start working, but I didn't have the work ethic he had, because he'd had to do it the whole time.
Right.
He had 3 years of work ethic ahead of me. And so by the time I'm a freshman, I was no longer, you know, a lineman. I was a 145-pound freshman playing guard. And which, I mean, you probably have a guard at 170 pounds, but I knew that my time as guard was gone. At that time, we had 700, close to 700 kids at the high school. It was 175 a class, so we were pretty close there. And that year I was a freshman, we had the biggest line in the state per weight. Nice. So the average weight, we had a guy at tackle that was 6'9", 300 plus, a guy that was a guard, Jim Lloyd was his name. Man, Jim Lloyd hit me on a pole. I'd never experienced that. I was never a linebacker. I didn't know what pulling guards did. There I am standing there with a dummy, and he hit me. And I know, like, it had to look like something out of an Ace Ventura movie, because I know I flew 6 feet with that dummy in hand in the air. And he lands on top of me, and he's like in my grill, and he's like, "Hold the dummy, freshman." And I'm like almost in tears, and I'm like, "Oh God, who's going to hit me next?" And I'm scared, like literally scared. And he was 250 probably, and that guy was a maniac. A ton of respect for those guys. They could play.
They were good.
So that was a moment for me where I was like, do I want to keep doing this? Like, how far do I want to go? And I'll be honest, man, I wimped out. You know, I don't have another way to put it. I wimped out, and I went another direction. I got into cars and got a job. And by the time I was a senior, I come back around, and I was the school mascot, which made a lot more sense for me. I did have warnings by the cheer coach at the time, and he was like, "Hey man, I've heard you in the stands. You can't do that when you're a cheerleader and a mascot. You can't say those things." I was terrible. I was a terrible kid. I don't know how my mother-in-law agreed to let me date her daughter at any time, because she stood like right across, like Jeannie and the whole Knuckles clan was right across from the student section. I know they heard me. I mean, everybody heard me, you know. That's why kids would turn around in the middle of a game and give me the finger. I mean, they heard me. But yeah, so I've constantly, for the past, however long I've been coaching and teaching, continually told kids, just keep playing, just keep playing. I missed out on those times with my buddies. Like I said, I've repeated this, but um, I feel like I've lost friendships that could have been really good because of those times on the bus, because of those times in practice when I was hurt and they were there to pick me up, or they were hurt and I was there to pick them up. And those are the moments when you build some really deep relationships with people, and I missed them.
Yeah.
And
You know, we talk about it as a team. I guess I talk about it to the team.
people get time to talk when
Yeah, no, sometimes. You know, we talked about that earlier. I don't necessarily have a great gift for the gab, but when it comes to talking to my team, I somehow find a way to do that. Probably too much sometimes, but you know what human nature is. We tend to talk about, like you just did, telling a story about a time you got blasted by a bigger kid, you know, and we tend to talk about all the sprints we did at practice and how hard running through our agility bags are before practice and doing those things. The problem is kids like you in your past,
absolutely.
who hear us just talking about the bad things all the time. They go, well, I don't want to go out for a
Right.
sport where we're doing just bad things all the time. You know, I kind of changed our way, trying to address the team that way, going, you need to talk about the good things that we do more with the kids. Talk about Thursday night meals and our crazy, I don't know, extra point contests that we
Right.
do on a random night during the week, and you know, all the fun summer activities we do and that sort of thing. And you know, hoping that'll develop some interest. You know, athletics, unfortunately, part of it is conditioning and running and doing that stuff, and you know that, and you'll never get away from it. And I always tell them, there's not a coach standing here talking to you and coaching you right now that enjoyed the conditioning part of practice. None of us did. You know, if you did, you'd be a cross country runner. You know, because
That's a mindset right there.
Exactly. You gotta enjoy the running. So. You know, just trying to get that turned around a little bit.
You know, with that being said, I think about those times, you know, and although I didn't participate in high school, I mean, we had some pretty intense stuff going on when I was younger. Coach Sutton he didn't play games, man. He treated us as if we were a high school team, and we were ran through. I broke a finger in a game in 7th grade, and this is a testament to what coaching was in, you know, the 80s. And I break a finger, got it hung up in some guy's face mask, and my finger is like laying over my middle finger, and it's still crooked today. And I'm sitting there, I'm crying in the huddle. And he comes out there, he called a timeout, and he's like, "What are you crying about?" And I'm like, "Nothing, man, nothing," you know. He goes, "Get out there, hit that guy," you know. So that next play, I'm jacked, and I hit that kid, and I didn't disengage from that linebacker, and we were about 30 yards from the play. We go back and watch film the next, like, 2-3 days later, whatever it was at the time. I don't remember if we played on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, something like it. Junior high schedule was
It's all jacked. You can play any night of the week.
and so we come back and we'd always watch film. We watched film with Coach Sutton. Every game we watched and analyzed film. That was part of it. I'm like, at the junior high level, think about that now.
Yeah.
Why are we anyway? That's an hour podcast in itself.
Yep.
But I recall, you know, we're watching film and you see me blast this kid, and I'm just not stopping. The bells or the whistle's blowing, and I'm going. My bell was rung, and that kid was going to know it. And he goes, "Man, that's a great downfield block, Schick." I'm like, "That was off the line, coach." That was off the line, dude. I don't think you remember coming out there and getting in my. But you know, those are the things. It's a character builder, and you realize who you are when you're faced with adversity. And I'll tell you, me quitting, it rippled. And I think about this now because I'm always in my own head. Unfortunately, it's a dark, cavernous, cobweb-ridden place. But I think about how that affected me when I went to college the first time, and it got hard. What did I do? I quit.
Mm-hmm.
I quit going to class. It was too hard. I know how to avoid this, just not go. And you know, that was that next piece where I just walked away from something, and it took me a long time to realize how that decision as a freshman or actually a sophomore, coming into my sophomore year, I didn't go back out. That affected a lot of decisions I made as a young man, even.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was just that one time I didn't play, so it was no big deal. It affected how my brain interacted with any kind of adversity moving on down the road, and it took me a long time to overcome it. And part of that was learning, holy crap, that's why this happened. And
Yeah, but as a young person, as a high schooler, you're not going to think that way. You're going with what feels good at the time.
100%.
And that's a battle that we struggle with. I mean, in some way, we have to make athletics, extracurricular activities in general, entertaining for kids.
Me and Tommy Simpson talk about edutainment.
Yeah.
The classroom has to be somewhat entertaining now too. I mean, the way that's all changing up. So went to Western Michigan.
Yes.
Did you play sports there?
I didn't. Okay. I started playing football at Adrian.
Okay.
I didn't finish, obviously, because I transferred back to Western Michigan.
And that's a whole nother experience being an athlete at the collegiate level.
Yeah. That the first, this is back in the day where we could still do 2 days. Matter of fact, our 2 days was a 3-a-day and almost 4-a-day for me. So,
wow.
it was the real deal. Now, even at the collegiate level, they are, limited to what they can and can't do during those early preseason practices. But it was a definite good experience. It was my boot camp. For thinking in a military way. It was the hardest physical thing I'd ever done.
Yeah.
And even I thought I was in decent shape going in. I found out I wasn't in as good a shape as I should have been, probably. But yeah, it was a good experience playing there for the time I got to play there, and then transferred back and graduated from Western. When I moved back to Western, I started paying for education myself instead of asking my parents to. So between that, having to work out a work schedule and a class schedule, it took me a little longer to graduate than some. But it takes many people 8 years or they're called doctors.
22,
going back to
22 years for me to
22
finish
years
my bachelor's.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was good, and got a teaching gig, and it was I was at a little town called White Pigeon to start my career, which is right on the border of Indiana, Michigan, that Mishawaka,
east of like Elkhart,
Shipshewana area, Middlebury, just north of there, and that was a great experience, and loved that. Coached with a guy who coached me in high school. He was the head coach down there, and had a good time until my wife decided she wanted to move back here. Like I said, so yeah, it's taking me some good places. Met some great people along the way.
So we fast forward to Blackford High School. Mm-hmm. You come over to Blackford. You took over a program that had been struggling, to say the least.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 wins in 6 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. In your first year?
I think we won 1 game. Yeah, we won first round sectionals.
Against Taylor.
Taylor, yeah.
I don't know how I remember this crap, but I'm sure you remember it much more clearly than me.
Not necessarily.
What I do remember is having pep talks with Coach Sehy in the hallways. Yeah. I go, come on, man, look at your stats. We had those conversations. Yeah,
it was a weird year. Yeah, because we were doing a little better than our record indicated. Obviously, I thought there was a couple, games along the way where we could have snuck out a win, but some weird things happened that year. And then the next year, I think we won 3 games, something like that. Yeah. And then the third year, we lost the first game to Jay County. I think they scored a touchdown right at the end. And that's still debatable. We'll go back and watch film. But the guys who were on the field, we came up with the football somehow, and the guys on the field swear he fumbled, and we recovered, but they gave him a touchdown. And then we went on a huge winning streak. I think we won 7 of our last 8. 6 of our last 8. played Eastbrook really tough, played Missinol really tough, and then made a run to the sectional championship before we ran into a really good Brebeuf team.
Yeah, Brebeuf.
Yeah.
I remember going down there for that. That was
They were really good.
They were really big.
Yeah.
And really
Yeah.
fast.
Well, they talk about their kids going to college. They're talking about D1 schools.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about our kids going to college, and we're talking about playing at D3. You know, Taylor's and our good ones going there. So, you know, it's a big difference. You know, if we would have beat Brebeuf, we would have got to go over to West Lafayette and played them. And they had that kid who went to Purdue. I can't remember his name. He's playing in the pros now, so it wouldn't have got it. Wouldn't have gotten any. Wouldn't have gotten any
A little
easier.
bit more of a buzzsaw.
Yeah. But that was a great year. Had a decent year the next year, and then it's kind of been sliding since COVID. COVID put a hurt on our program for some reason.
You had momentum.
Yeah.
You know?
And once COVID hit, we lost a ton of it. And it started with this senior class. This year's senior class is the worst one. It really hit. Our numbers dropped, and they as a group, we didn't have enough to put a JV team together, and so they spent a year playing with us and at the varsity level, and they didn't like that, so they didn't stick it out. It's kind of your situation, a little bit of your situation kind of thing, and we haven't been able to get them back. So we've got our 3 seniors this year, and that's what kind of hurting our numbers.
A little bit smaller class too.
Yeah, they are, and you know, to be fair. You know, it's not like many of them aren't doing anything. They've found other interests, you know, kind of FFA and
esports.
And esports is kind of a thing now too.
Yeah. You're fighting along. You got a lot of battles to fight to get participation. And I can recall as the assistant AD at the time at the junior high, we were recruiting kids to get that 7th grade team together.
Yeah. This has been I think last year, the good news is last year is the first year we had a 7th and 8th grade team, first time since COVID. And so our numbers down there are starting to come back up. And the problem is that's going to take a while to filter into the high school again. But we've got a good group this year. We're just small. Yeah. We're just going to be small in numbers. Our junior class is a really hardworking, good class. And the last year's freshmen, this year's sophomores, they're a pretty good group too. So.
Oh, good. You got some leadership coming
back. Hope so. Yeah. Hope so.
Good stuff. So speaking of those first few years, you had some challenges in there, because I'm just going to say this, that I watched kids who had been in the program physically and mentally change dramatically. I think of a couple kids, and if I threw some names out there, I hate name dropping, but Jake Devers, or that kid, just Hernandez, some of those boys. Yeah, just
those are the guys who clicked as seniors on, when we made the run. Yeah. Jacob Devers, a great, and I just went back and watched film of them, I think, earlier this year, and I forgot how good those guys got. And it wasn't because they were naturally good; it's because they lived in the weight room. They both
100%.
They're the 2 strongest kids I've had since I've been there. And then you had kids, come out and fill in some of the gaps that we needed to fill in that year, and that was just turned into a magical year. But all of those seniors, except for maybe a couple, loved the weight room. Yeah, and they lived in the weight room that summer. That summer especially, we had to split up our summer workouts. And so we had half of them in the weight room, and I took the other half to the track and conditioned, and then we flip-flopped halfway through morning workouts in the summer. And that's because we couldn't fit the 40 guys we had working out, in the weight room at one time. We don't have that problem right now. So 40. Yeah, it was a magical couple of years there where we had that problem.
So outside of COVID, what else has there been a change in programming at the school? It felt like at that time we had a weight program that was moving in the right direction. We may have been even competing at different, like, high school weight competition.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
over maybe Missinawall.
Yeah, we did that a couple years, and that was good experience for them, and I think we're going to try and get back into that and make it a little more official. Actually, have a weight team per
Yeah.
se, or club, lifting club, and open it to all students who maybe aren't doing a winter sport. You know, as much as I'd like football guys doing a winter sport than living in the weight room, still, if they're going to be living in the weight room, let's get them
Right.
competing, doing something. And so we get them doing that. That'll be good. You know, what I like about most of those kind of weight competitions is they kind of do it like wrestling, you know, that you go by a weight class,
Yeah.
and how that works. And so you don't have to necessarily be lifting a ton of weight.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to be competitive in your weight class, which makes it hard sometimes when you got some kids, but that are strong and stout. But you know, I think we need to get that going again. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I think about the COVID was what, 18 months, 24 months really.
Yeah.
And man, as someone who is out of the sports world, I didn't see that end of it. And so I'm sitting here like, I didn't think about that. And you know, how do you overcome that? What's that next piece? And I think you got some ideas. You're working, right? I mean, talking about making the sport family oriented, fun, and you know, to where just being a part of a team and overcoming the hard work part of it, you know. But the hard work's part of becoming that family and that team. And, but you got to change behavior before you can change belief.
Well, you know, part of it is you got to quit thinking about think of football as a family, instead of it's me out here by myself. No, you're out there with you know, hopefully 40, you know, 30 to 40 of your best friends getting ready to you know, play a tough game against another team. But you're preparing together, and you're all going through this together, and it's part of that team building process that it's hard to convince kids that that's a fun thing to do for some reason nowadays.
Do you think it's just kids? 'Cause I can see myself as a parent.
No. Yeah, I tried not to bring that up,
No,
but yeah,
I think it
sounds like I'm blaming parents, and
No,
that's not
no.
how I mean it.
I don't feel that at all. But I think there are parents out there that are going, you're not going to play football, honey. You're not going to play football.
Yeah.
You know, and if they look at the data, you know, I had a daughter who played soccer, and there was more injuries going on in girls soccer and girls basketball than there was in men's football.
But it's like everything else. If the media picks it up and runs with it, it gets blown 100%. Into a different stratosphere. And in football, had that. Are there some inherent dangers to a sport where you run into each other? Absolutely, you know, absolutely. But you know, I think I don't want to belittle head injuries at all, because I think it is a big deal, and it is a thing that we need to keep an eye on. But they don't happen as often as people think they do. Right. You know, serious injury on the football field is certainly a possibility, but it does not happen as often as many people have made it sound. And so we keep battling that.
Well, the equipment's tremendously better.
Oh my gosh.
It's a whole nother planet versus the things I wore and you wore playing when we were kids, and even, you know, in the high school level. It's not even the same.
No, sometimes I wonder if that's part of the problem, because it feels like you're invulnerable when you're in some of that stuff, you know, and so you go at it a little bit harder than maybe I did, knowing that, hey, this thing's got a shell on it. But
there's no doubt that I went harder thinking that I was invincible.
Yeah. Well, even the stuff we had at the time was great, and we thought we were. So yeah.
I could run through a brick wall with this helmet my mom bought for me at a rummage sale. I'm coming for you.
Yes.
You know, and that's the way I played. I no doubt. I was an idiot. But now, I mean, the equipment is much more advanced, and they're
much more
tracking everything, and you have to renew it. Like it's not like you have, let's see, I've got, the guys I was talking, you don't have those shoulder pads anymore from, Craig Brown and those guys that were playing back in
Yeah,
the.
we got rid of a bunch of those. Yeah.
So, I mean, just the improvement in that, I want to make sure everybody's aware, like they are very focused on student safety and the protocols that are in place and the amount of courses you have to take as a coach, and not just you, anybody involved in coaching at the high school and junior high level, the amount of courses that are taken, for you name it, throw some out there.
Yeah, I think there's 4 core courses that all coaches have to take. I think cardiac, concussion, and then I don't remember what the other are. But then there's a couple additional ones that football coaches have to take for safe tackling drills and those sorts of things. Equipment fitting, and so. I think, like I said, I think there's 4 core courses all coaches have to take as far as first aid and those sorts of things. There is a lot more focus on student safety.
Hydration is
absolutely.
one of them.
We are really limited now to what we can and can't do as far as practice goes. You're allowed to still have a 2 a day if you want, but you have to have, I think there's 3 hours in between practices, and you can only go an hour and a half for each practice, or you can go one long 3 hour and call it good. You can't do two a day practices back to back, and so there's a lot of limitations to what you can and can't do. And so I've kind of just made the decision we're just going to practice every day, a little longer in the preseason, and have our 1 practice a day and make it as much like during the school year as possible.
Yeah. So and I bring that up because I want to give you a chance to talk on, if I'm a parent out there and I'm like, I don't want Jimmy going to play football. I'm worried about his safety, and it could be mom or dad, or whoever's raising, whoever that caregiver is.
Yeah.
If I'm a grandma and I'm like, Jimmy ain't playing football, it ain't happening. What can you do to give them some comfort in knowing, hey, Jimmy's going to be taken care of? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I've known you long enough. There's no doubt in my mind my kid's going out for football to play for Randy Sehy. I don't care if they're Canasta world champ. I want them to be involved with Randy Sehy.
Well, I appreciate that. Part of what one of the first things I'd tell them, if they know anything about football at all, or were raised, came up playing football in the time you and I came up, me a little bit before you, but there's no bull in the ring type drills anymore with me. You don't put a kid in the middle of a bunch of kids and just absolutely lay them out and hit them for no reason. We don't do any drills that don't pertain to playing on the game field.
Right.
And so we try and teach them the same correct things. Keep your head out of the play, whether you're tackling or blocking or just running around, but be cognizant of what's going on with your helmet. Don't put it in places it doesn't need to be. And we make sure there's been so much focus on heat, dangers and those sorts of things. So we make sure we're hydrated and taking good rest periods and staying cool, and doing the things that need to be done to be safe. But then I'd get into, the team building process and like you talked about earlier, this is where you meet and make friends. This is where, when you're getting together for your class reunions, you have something to talk about with these people. And doing all these things and all the Thursday night meals and the Saturday morning donuts and Casey's breakfast pizza. And
what time are the donuts and pizza happening? Just
I don't know if you get up that early on a Saturday morning, do you?
Surprised, man. for pizza and donuts?
Yeah.
Might be surprised what I'll do.
Saturday morning film sessions, 8:00 usually. So, we just. Like I said, try to talk about the fun things that we do and sell this and know that, my own kid played. for me, and I was probably harder on him than in some ways than many other kids. Not fair to him, but he got through it, and he's fine, and he's doing well today. So, I just try and take care of our athletes, and although you don't have an extremely close relationship with all your athletes, there are some kids that I'll always remember and always feel close to, and so I try to make them all feel that way. But some kids you get along with better than others and that kind of thing. But I'm still trying to be that way for everybody and be an inspiration to all of them.
Well, I appreciate that, and so just to follow up on that, you're talking about these different team nights, different things you're doing with the kids to build that family atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything to share of some kids who have been in your program previously coming back?
One of I've got three assistant coaches right now. And they're all they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. Gavin Dawson and Jeremy Davis are teachers in the junior high building, and have coached for a few years now. But honestly, and I'm not belittling Gavin or Jeremy at all, but maybe the best one of our assistant coaches is a 21-year-old kid named Connor Gully, who played for me. And it's not because he's a better coach. It's because he's been coached by me.
Yeah.
And he knows exactly what I'm looking for. And it's not just he's been coached by me as a head coach. He played the positions that I coached.
Yeah.
When he was playing, and so in some ways he's better than the other two because he knows the program. And so I keep working on trying to get guys to come back and coach. Brandon Apple has talked about wanting to coach. I think he's going to fill in some aspect this fall. And Darren Ramsier has been back working with us, and if anybody knows Darren out there, he's just a great kid, and just wants to be part of what's going on. And so he's been my film guy.
All right.
Here he's not necessarily excited about that, but as part of that
entry level position.
Entry level position.
I think Darren's a listener.
Is he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Darren, I'm still looking for you as a filmer, unless you can find somebody to replace you this fall.
You can't, as was said in Remember the Titans, you cannot replace a Darren.
You cannot. He's a great kid, and he played center for us for 2 years, and I enjoyed having him on the team. But there's something about those guys who played in the program who get it, and although Gavin really did a great job stepping in as defensive coordinator for us last year, and really got a lot better as the year went on, he's still just not knowing the ins and outs like Connor does, because he just Connor actually had more experience in 4 years playing for us than Gavin. So staff's getting stronger. Jeremy's a great guy. He's got a growing family, and so that takes some of his energy. But he does a great job in the weight room for us. I give him all that. He runs that, and that's kind of his baby. He loves that kind of stuff. So, like I said, all three of those guys have some definite strengths and that to bring to the program.
Yeah. So I'm going to hit you with something here. I'm going to say it the way I remember it, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Okay.
All right. So I think it was 2017, 2018. You got nominated and selected as a Colts Coach of the Week.
Yeah.
And from what I remember, there was a pretty respectable coach that nominated you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coach Adamson.
Coach Adamson. Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal, man.
It is. It is.
And I want to. I'm going to stress how big of a deal it was, because I know you won't. But that guy, highly respected, not just in our area, but in the state.
Yeah.
And 30 plus years, 34 years coaching experience.
Yeah, I think he started in 88, 89 over there, something like that. Yeah. He's been there a while.
So that's a big deal.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I got a nice Colts hat out of it that I still wear and wear around. And
You even bought a truck that's Colts blue.
you noticed that, huh?
As
Yeah.
soon as you pulled in, I said, "Oh God, I
Yeah.
can't wait to talk about the Colts
That's
thing."
hilarious. I didn't think that at the time of buying it, but for some reason the other day I was getting in my truck going, that's Colts blue.
It's Colts
Yeah,
blue. I thought
that's
maybe that was something that was given to you as coach of the
No,
league.
that'd be
That would
awesome.
be all right.
Yeah, that'd
Wouldn't
be
it?
all right. Now,
Man,
I think the athletic department got a couple grand out of the deal, or our
nice.
football budget got a couple grand out of the deal too. When I got to go down and be honored at a Colts game. I can't remember. I think it was pre-game. They honored us, um, and got to go watch Colts at practice at their facility, which was really neat. I remember meeting what's the general manager's name. Gosh darn it, why can't I think of that right now? Anyways, I didn't know who he was, and he came up and started talking to some of the coaches I was standing
Grigson
with.
or something like that? No, that's not
No,
what it is.
Bethard? No, not Bethard. That's way back.
Hey, Jimmy, intern Jimmy, can you look up?
We need one. Absolutely need one of those. Anyways, he came up and started talking to the coaches I was standing with, and I had no idea who this guy was. I thought he was just some guy, and then I come to find out he's the GM, general manager. And I'm like, okay.
Hey, buddy, get your fingers out of the dip.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to eat bringing that up, eat lunch in their practice facility there, and got a nice plaque and hat, and yeah, it was a neat deal. They do it every year. They nominate. I think there's 10 regions in the state, so it works out. 10 weeks football. They nominate one coach from. I think only one coach from each region gets to be honored. So there were some other coaches that were having some really good years. So I was really quite honored that I was the one they nominated.
That year, there was some strength in the CIC that year.
Yeah. There were a couple coaches that were having really good year. And I know Tipton was having a good year that year. They nominated coach from over there, Tully, but I got the nomination, so I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I was talking to Coach Bud Osmond this past year over at Oak Hill, and he's been there 24 years, I think.
Yeah, he's been there a while. Yeah.
And I was just talking to him. I said, "Man, do you know Randy?" And he's like, "Yeah." And you guys have so much respect for one another, and I could see there's a lot of camaraderie between a lot of you. And I said, "That's what I asked him. All right." I said, "He gonna be all right?" He goes, "Yeah, man." He said, "I went through some ups and downs too." I said, "Randy's gonna be all right. He's a great coach, and I look forward to seeing what he puts together year in, year out." So
it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna sugarcoat it. It's hard, when I've never wanted to really toot my own horn, but I had a pretty decent winning record coming into Blackford, and I don't have that. I don't have that anymore. Yeah, and I think that's and I don't mean to say that as I'm not happy with losing that winning record. What I say that for is it made me think that and even more so last year, I'm not doing this for me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about what your overall record is. It kind of helped me understand that a little more, where maybe earlier in my career, it was more about, me and having a winning record and that sort of thing. And I don't say that just because we're struggling right now. I honestly mean that. I don't want to dwell on that, because it's got to be about the kids.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to continue and enjoy this, I got to have fun with the kids and not worry about what my record is. So, I keep thinking about that and keep working on that. And those who have played for me will understand this, but I am an 80s, 90s coach. And I kind of look inside. I got to change some things that I'm doing too in order to get kids going, I think, because that 80s, 90s style of coaching doesn't necessarily translate to 2020. Yeah. And so we kind of look inside on that. Done a lot of that this year, and hoping that if I can change a little bit, maybe that'll help with our numbers coming back up too. So, because kids don't like to be coached like they did, at that time. I think. I think they still like being coached. Um, I think they just like it as a little softer level.
More relational.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I've thought about that.
And so where I came through was more of a yelling, be loud. The louder you are, the more your players will understand you, right? And so I've kind of had that coming up through. You look inside and go, maybe you can teach at a quieter tone and get some things across. So
yeah, man, I felt that. I felt that as an administrator. I thought I was, I had to bring the fire and brimstone and be that guy, like just over the top. And I realized real quickly, holy moly, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, people don't necessarily respond to that as well.
It's not Private Pile standing over here. I don't have to be Full Metal Jacket on every kid,
right?
Or any kid for that matter. And I got so much further with them. Not only did I feel better about it, but I felt like the results were much better. And they do want to be coached. They do.
Mm-hmm.
We all want coach. We all want directions. We want to know the rules of play. Nobody sits down to play Monopoly and goes, hey, man, let's just, throw it all out there and we'll grab what we can. And, nobody likes to play sorry that way either. Mm-hmm. They want to know what the rules are. They want to know where the guardrails are. Okay, I can hit that guardrail and still be okay. I can still play. If I mess up,
mm-hmm.
I can still get back in the game, right? Okay, as long as I know that, I'm good, But so I think they do want that. I know they do. It's part of our human nature. It's drilled into us for tens of thousands of years. But at the same token, we've also got it is a new generation. It is a new thought process. Culturally, we're going through some changes, and if you yell at me, you're not going to get. And I was that kid. I was that kid. If I get yelled at, you're going to get one of two things. You're going to get, I'm going to drive that kid down the field like I did for Coach Sutton, or you're going to get me going,
But I think that's where kind of that developed in me. The being louder part is that how kids used to react more commonly than the other way, than the shut down. But I think it's reversed a little bit.
I think so.
I think, and it's taken me a while to see that, and I'm not necessarily proud of that. I just making an observation. Something I've observed the last couple of years is that they, rather than responding with, "Hey, I'm going to get that kid," then the next play they shut down, and it takes them even longer to get back. And honestly, maybe coaching my own kid helped me see that a little bit too. Because he's kind of a kid who was so hard on himself at times that if I added to that, it just made the situation worse. And I think we have a lot more kids like that nowadays than we did when I first started coaching.
Yeah, it's interesting. Both my girls took discipline very differently. Mm-hmm. Addison, if you yelled, raise your voice at her, oh man, it was lights out. You were getting that reaction. With Jocelyn, you could just see she just shut it off, and she went into her own little world, and you had to talk to her. It was interesting. I saw that at an early age, and as a young man, dad, me and Jennifer talking about how do we change that up so we make sure we reach them and teach them and grow them. But man, I appreciate all you're doing, brother. I am. I'm a big Randy Sehy fan. I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but he doesn't like being talked about that way. But I'm a huge fan of his, and I've been asking him to come on, and he's like, "No, what do you want to talk about?" I said, I want to talk sports. I want to talk football. And he goes, I'm a little nervous about talking about this football year. It's too early. I don't want to talk about it yet. I said, we ain't gonna talk about this football year. We're not gonna talk about football this year. We're gonna talk about your coaching. He's like, okay, all right. So, and I get it. You don't want to count your chickens before they hatch. You don't want to overestimate, underestimate, and listen. Let's just get some numbers out there.
I like selling the program.
100%.
I love selling the program. It's just and just well as I do, in any kind of sales situation, it's a lot easier to sell when the product is popular, and doing well. And right now we're in some struggles, and a lot of it has to do with just simple numbers.
Yeah.
I think the kids that we have on the field are just as competitive as any other kids that we play.
Yeah.
The problem is when you only have 25 kids on a high school football team you unfortunately at that point have to rely on playing some younger kids who maybe shouldn't be on the football field, and that's the problem we've had the last couple of years. So,
And there's a big difference between a senior and a freshman.
oh, absolutely, and if we can get our numbers back up and get the JV program going again, that'll do nothing but help us. And like I said, this is the first year since COVID that we've had a 7th and 8th grade
That's
football
encouraging.
team.
And
so
to know
numbers
that
are coming up again
before the school year starts.
Yeah,
because I've been there, dude. When we're like, "Hey, kid, you're playing football." No, I'm not. Yes, you are. You don't know it yet, but you're playing football. And I've had a few of those kids, and you got one that has faced some injuries for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
It's Jackson Bell's
Xander.
Yeah. And he was one of those kids I had to, hey, you're playing football.
Xander's a great kid.
I love that guy, man.
Yeah, he's fun. A little bit of goofball.
Yeah.
But that's what you love about him. Yeah. And hopefully we can keep him healthy this year, because he has.
Yeah.
I think he would have been a big part of last year's team and helped us tremendously. Yeah. But he's had a couple of weird injuries the last 2 years, so we keep him healthy. That'll be awesome this year. And then Caleb Patrick is one of our other seniors. I think he's played since he's a sophomore.
Yeah.
Started on the varsity team as a sophomore, and then Donovan Soto.
Yeah.
Is our third senior, and people ask where's the others. That's it. That's our senior class right now, unless we have a couple come out of the woodwork. That's who we have, and I think this is a group that was affected by the COVID year, and just the weird stuff that happened that fall to them, and so. We can get through this, and I don't know if they can talk any of their senior buddies of playing one more year or not. Rumored a few of them, but we haven't seen any of them yet.
Well, let's get them out there, man.
I know.
What do you need me to do? I'll ride my bike up and down the street. Hey, get out there. Hey, kid.
Listen, you know what I said about you earlier, having that gift for gab, and that's what makes you who you are. And that's a good thing.
If you need any help from me whatsoever, don't hesitate to reach out. I am here to help.
Same thing I ask everybody: just promote the program and keep even if you got to make me look like a good guy to do it, I guess go ahead and.
I'm doing my best here, folks. I had to take a ton of notes and I had to look up stuff from forever ago. I was up for like 3 days trying to put this together just to ask 2 questions. It's like, what can I find about whatever. I'm excited about Friday Night Lights. I am one of those once a Bruin, always a Bruin.
Mm-hmm.
I was very fortunate when I went down to Madison. They were Bears and Cubs, and they were red and white. So I still had some things going on. And I loved Oak Hill. I had a great experience over at Oak Hill, but it was hard. It was hard going from being a Bear of some sort, to an Eagle.
Yeah.
But I soared, buddy. You better believe it. Now, had a great experience. Great school over there. Every place I've been has been awesome and been around some wonderful people. And I've watched programs that are much larger. Madison is a school of about 800 plus kids, and they were struggling with numbers too. So it's not just
it's not just a Blackford thing.
No.
I know Madison Grant, although their numbers have been up the last couple of years, they're talking about their numbers being lower down at the lower levels, and Elwood struggled maybe worse than us the last couple of years. Heard grumblings that Alexandria is not doing well with numbers, so it's not just a Blackford thing. But Blackford's where I coach, so to me it is a Blackford thing.
That's where the focus is. I get it. And just thinking, weather that storm, man.
Well, I know people are really hyping up some of our lower levels, 5th, 6th grade kind of thing, and talking about how much they enjoy playing the sport. And if it was just football whose numbers were struggling right now, I would really question if I'm not the reason, or maybe shouldn't be coaching. But all our programs are struggling with the numbers, and I think sometimes we as coaches need to do a better job also of promoting each other's programs.
100%.
And like I would love my football guys to wrestle and swim and play basketball. And I think they get sometimes more out of that than they do spending the winter in the weight room. But I know that all those sports aren't, necessarily for everybody. And then I definitely push them to run track in the spring. And our track numbers this past spring were great on the guy side. So hoping that translates to more. But that also got me thinking about me as a coach. And am I different in the spring than I am in the fall? And yeah, I am. And I think. I think I need to do a better job in the fall of letting the guys get to know me.
Yeah.
The real me, not the guy out there yelling and screaming at them. So, because that's my alter ego. That's the competitive coach in me. And so soften up, build better relationships, and get the program back where it needs to be.
Well, don't soften up too much, man. We still gotta have.
Well, there's a difference between being weak and being
I agree
soft.
with that. Still want people to be able to overcome adversity. And that's part of the growth process. Growing's hard.
You can be demanding and still 100%. Have good relationships with people. So
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. One last question. What is the most rewarding part about being a coach?
Wow. The answer that comes instantly to my head would be the same thing it does as being a teacher. My relationships I build with the kids. Mm-hmm. And just like the classroom, and just, it's the same thing. You build those relationships and hope that they hold up for those days that you're having a bad day.
Yep, I got you.
And because we all have a bad day, and we all, I heard one. I try to keep this in mind. Sometimes it takes, 10 good things to undo one bad thing. Mm-hmm. One bad day. And so I try to keep that in mind, especially in the classroom. But I think it's those relationships, those kids who I'll remember down the road. And man, there are so many kids after being in this for almost 30 years now. There have been so many kids, and some you remember, and some unfortunately you don't. I can't. Shoot, I barely remember names of the ones I had last year. I mean, I'm getting to that point in my life. It seems like it takes me longer to remember a group of kids' names, and it's not because I don't care. It's just I've never been good at remembering names.
I'm terrible at it.
But I recognize faces for a long time, and until they mature so much that I don't recognize them as who they were as a freshman anymore. But I still enjoy kids.
Yeah.
I still there's a lot of things to education right now that I don't enjoy. But kids are kids, I think, and I don't think kids has changed as much as we as adults interacting with kids have changed.
Gotcha.
And I think that's why we see kids as different nowadays sometimes, because we as adults do things differently than the adults of our times maybe did. And so that's why it looks a little different. But, I still love kids, and they're fun. They keep me feeling younger as I creep into my mid to later 50s. And, even though I look like I'm 80.
Whatever. Give me a break, man.
Kids ask me all the time, how old are you, Miss? I said, I'm 80. I look good for being 80, don't I? I look really good. So.
Well, I've said this many times that felt like, and it was a few years ago when I made the statement that the major men's sports at the high school a few years ago, there was you, Hoover, and Ugin, and I don't know the new basketball coach very well or not, but I've heard some great things there. So I'm excited to hopefully be able to say this one day too. But still feel like the combination of at that time I was saying future Hall of Fame coaches. Two of them have come to fruition. So just saying, man, that no pressure on you.
Well,
I know it's a personal accolade. Don't get me wrong, and it's not something anybody really
Yeah.
shoots for.
Yeah.
You know, the last thing anybody ever thinks of is, I'm going to start coaching. I'm going to be in the Hall of Fame. Nobody's doing that, but I'm telling you, your resume is Hall of Fame worthy. And
well, unfortunately, when they're looking at that, they probably look at that win-loss record, you know, that I'm trying to not think about. But
man, if they're just looking at that, they're going to listen to my podcast. I'll make sure they do. I'll go down and talk to them. But the wins you are getting are off the field with these young men you're helping produce, and I don't want you to forget that. And I want to make sure my listeners hear that the change I watch between these boys that would come from my 8th grade classroom and then go through Coach Sehy's football program is tremendous. Not just physically, as I watched physical changes in some of those kids where I was like, how'd that happen? Who are you? But the mental changes that were happening as well are just phenomenal. And I want to make sure that doesn't get lost in that win-loss column, because that's a bigger win than any championship, like we all want to win.
oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's not, I don't know of any coach that's ever gone out there, just want to have fun. We may say it, but I'm there to win.
Just have fun winning. Yeah,
100%. And it is fun winning. But I think there's a lot more to be learned in those processes. And I've been a coach that, man, I had a team that didn't win a game, for a number of years, and we won one, and that was huge. And I was very proud of that team. And if we just look at the win-loss record, you're like, they were terrible.
Yeah.
No, they weren't. They were incredible people that overcame a lot of people on the outside jawing trash about them that misrepresented who they truly were. And
well, I appreciate you saying that. And one last, last year's team struggled tremendously, and I think, and I told them this, the thing I'm most proud about them last year is, one, they didn't quit. They fought to the end. And two, they got better. We were a completely different team at the end of the year than we were at the beginning of the year. We weren't winning. We didn't win. We ended up losing to the sectional champion in the first round. But we were a much better football team at the end, and that's what I told them to always take pride in, as as they look back and remember. And that's what I'll remember about last year's team, is that they kept fighting and they improved. And that's all you can ask as a coach sometimes.
Cool. Well, for real this time, thanks everybody for listening in, and thanks Coach Sehy for being here. This is the Schick Show. Thanks for listening and spending this hour with us. Holy moly. I try and keep it under an hour,
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
I just like diarrhea of the mouth, maybe. I don't know. Well, hey, thanks everybody for listening. We're out.